Welcome to Mind Your Heart Podcast, your favorite corner of the internet where we chat about all things mental health. I'm Emily.
And I'm Trina. Together, we're like your real-life Lorelai and Rory Gilmore. Each week, we'll bring you real conversations about the world of mental health, and we will peel back layers on topics like anxiety, depression, and much more.
We're here to chat with you about the tough stuff, the everyday stuff, and everything in between. So grab your emotional support water bottle, I know we have ours, find your comfiest chair, or keep your eyes on the road, and let's get into it. Are you ready, Mom?
Absolutely! Join us as we mind our hearts and hopefully make minding yours a little easier. Welcome back!
Welcome back!
Welcome back to you.
Thanks!
Like my blanket?
Yeah. Yeah, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see the lovely poncho that she has on.
I'm a little chilly.
Yeah.
You know? It's just a little cold. I don't know why. Sometimes when I get a little nervous, I get a little chilly.
Really?
So, yeah.
I get hot.
That is a new thing for me. Yeah.
I wish I got colds instead.
Yeah, well, getting hot is the worst. So that happens too. But that sometimes is menopause for me.
All right, well, I'm not there.
Yeah.
But
yes, you're not there.
Yeah.
And if you were there, you could be reversed. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I get hot frequently.
Yeah. That's hormonal.
Actually not as much anymore.
Yeah.
Since doing the new gut health stuff.
Yeah.
Which has been nice.
Yeah, because it's hormonal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So this week we're going to be. Last week, if you happen to catch the episode, then we talked a little bit about, not a little, we talked a long time about my story and a little bit about me. And today we're going to focus on Emily's story. And the reason we're focusing on our stories first, hoping that you're listening in order, in sequence.
Mm-hmm. Or not.
I mean, you don't have to.
It doesn't have to be in order.
For sure. Yeah, you can listen.
I mean, but technically you came first and then I came, so
yeah.
It makes more sense. But
okay, so yeah, and we just want to give you a little bit of background so that you know when we're talking about some of the things that we're going to talk about on this podcast that we also have some ties to it.
Yeah,
we have some personal experience and some background, and I mean not everything that we're going to talk about. We'll have, there might be something.
We'll learn with you as well.
Yeah.
But we also come from, it's just the relatability aspect of it.
Yeah.
We're not just rando people talking about mental health that we know nothing about.
Absolutely.
We have lots
seasoned counseling veterans.
Yeah, psychiatry, all the things. Yeah.
Mindset coaching,
TMS.
All the things.
Yeah.
So years and years and years of experience combined.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So anyway, this week we're going to jump into Emily and hear a little bit about Emily's story. And Emily. So
that's my name.
Yeah. Emily Renee. Emily, tell us a little bit about you.
Okay. Sometimes when I feel like I'm gonna start this long story about myself, I feel like it starts in 6th grade for me. That's where I can really kind of remember the beginning of my mental health story.
Yeah.
Because before then, I'm sure there were whatever it was, but I was just so much more of a kid.
For sure.
I feel like I was a lot 6th grade was where it was all right, now your emotional intelligence is gonna have to be higher than the age you really are.
It was hard at home. Were things going on that?
I think so.
I mean, I feel like that's when I was getting my master's.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I just remember, so in 6th grade, I went to the elementary school before 6th grade that you taught at.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a lot of I had my one best friend that I was in every grade with since kindergarten.
Yeah.
And just friends that I also was with all the time, through my whole entire elementary school experience. And then going to 6th grade, my middle school for 6th grade was right next door. So, like, all of the kids that I really, like, knew and grew up with, essentially, like, were going to that school.
Yeah.
And so when I started in 6th grade, I don't really know, like, I honestly, like, it's hard for me to pinpoint, like, I'm like, what was different about me, like, at that point? But I just, like, didn't fit in with those kids anymore. Mm-hmm. Like, it's, like, when I think about it, I'm like, I don't even know, like, what was different about that. But it was just, like, it was, like, the person I was best friends with for so many years, she had different priorities, and she wanted to be around different people that, like, I didn't want to be around, that didn't like me. And the people that I knew didn't really, like, wanna, like, I wasn't cool. I was never, like, the cool kid in school.
Yeah.
Like, that was just never how I was. I didn't try to fit into something that I, like, didn't want to be, and, like, that was not looked at as cool.
And you were, like, pretty firm on rules.
Yeah, for sure. That's true. Especially, like, from a young age. I think as I got older, I was like, I like the rules that I like. And which is, like, more like you.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't really know how to even relate to you on some things, like being such a rule.
I think, honestly, when I am picturing myself being so, like, regimented in the rules, it was, like, a control aspect. Like, everything else was so out of control that I was like, well, this is the one thing that is in control, and I can abide by it and feel in control as well. Yeah. So everybody else must do the same. Like, which is kind of what... like, really set me apart in 6th grade, because, I mean, I just vividly remember, like, 6th grade just being complete, like, circus chaos. Yeah, like, it's just, I mean, like, going from elementary school to middle school is, like, such a massive transition.
It's such a transition. And also, you were very innocent.
That's true.
You were very innocent. I mean, you had a rolling backpack with your name on it.
Oh, I know.
From Pottery Barn.
Okay. Well, the thing about that is, is that I didn't even necessarily choose the rolling aspect of it. You told me.
Oh, no.
Oh, what? You told me that because I had scoliosis. I needed to have a rolling backpack.
In 6th grade, I did?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think that is you remember it one way and I remember it another.
Oh,
because
boy.
I thought you wanted a rolling backpack.
I did not want a rolling backpack. I wanted a backpack from Pottery Barn. I did want a backpack that said my name on it. But I did not want it to roll. Okay. I didn't even really use the rolling aspect of it that often until you asked me about it. And I was like, well, shit. Like, if she's going to ask me, I can't lie. Yeah. Because no 6th grader lies to their mother. Yeah. Like, but, like, I was like, well, I have to. So then now I have to use it to roll.
Are you sure? Okay, maybe it's just convenient to remember it that I picked rolling, because I can't imagine that I would pick rolling. I would know better.
You told me that I needed it because of my scoliosis.
I think I was worried about scoliosis. That does sound correct.
Because in 5th grade, my backpack was so heavy.
It was so heavy.
So
okay, so that was not a good decision. Anyway.
Yes. But don't blame me for the rolling aspect of it. But that led to me being a literal rolling target in 6th grade. Yeah. I was bullied pretty severely. It was also, like, when I say that, it came about because of my incessant rule following. Yeah. I basically, like, tattled on someone for something so stupid. And then... And it was like, I tattled on, like, an 8th grader who was, like, 3 times my size, and she had, like, a very tall friend as well. Like, they were, like, scary. Yeah. Yeah. And the girl...
And when you're in middle school and you're being, like, dominated by another girl. It's scary.
Yeah. And not only, like, it wasn't even like it was just another 6th grader.
Yeah,
It was
another
like an
8th grader.
8th grader
Yeah.
who looked like a high schooler.
Yeah.
Like, in my mind, like, I can see them both. I
Yeah.
know exactly what they look like.
Yeah.
And they are not small people.
Yeah.
So, and I was not a large person
Yeah.
at that point. I was just, like, kind of a chubby, like, awkward stage. And I was kind of short.
Yeah, I don't remember that, but okay.
So, yeah. It was like, it felt like small versus large and powerful.
Yeah.
And they also were known. So, like, people knew them.
Yeah.
And people were, like, telling them that some girl named Emily told on them. And then, of course, here I am walking around with my rolling backpack that says my name on it.
Oh my gosh.
And I was absolutely terrified to go to school. Like,
yeah,
literally,
I remember that.
Like, I honestly thought I was going to be, like, severely injured.
Killed,
like,
yeah.
Yeah, well, that wasn't just, like, an irrational fear. There were kids at that school who got into fights so severe that they were in the hospital for days.
Yeah.
So that wasn't, like, an out-of-the-question fear.
Yeah.
So I remember, like, going to the guidance counselor at that time, if we can even really call them that. But they were like, so, like, what's the problem? Like, how are things going? And I, like, kind of told them. And they were like, so, what do you want us to do? And I was like,
protect me.
I know. I'm like, I don't know. Hope that I don't get murdered in middle school? Like, and he was like, well, there's not really anything I can do, so just be careful. And I was like, gee, thanks. Like, so then I feel like I had no support from the school itself. Yeah. And, like, there's nothing you or dad could do. Yeah. At the time. Like, you can't accompany me to 6th grade. Like, I didn't really have any friends. The friends that I had from elementary school were like, see you later, you're not cool enough for me. So it was like, I was, like, on my own trying to, and I would, like, run from class to class, not like sprint. I would really put a target on my back. But
it's a scary thing. So we decided for you to go to a charter school.
Yeah. And before I went in to 6th grade, we were talking about going
to an art school.
To that school. And but we decided, like, I would go to the one with my friends and whatever. And then it was like towards the end of the year where I was just asking to not go to school, like, every day. Like, I just really didn't want to go.
Which was unlike you because you were a school person.
I was a hard worker in school. That was very important to me. Like, I got really good grades. And I was like, please don't make me go. Like, just let me stay home. And then I decided, like, with you guys, I was like, yeah, like, take me out. I can't be here anymore. Like, it wasn't going to work. And thankfully, at that time, for that school, it wasn't as hard to get in. Like, later down the line, people actually had to audition to get in.
Oh wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah. It was like a couple years after I'd gotten in. So I was like, phew, because I was not, like, having all these, like, already existing talents. Like, the things, well, I did, but, like, not that I had known about. Yeah. And that was a massive change. But in 6th grade, it was also, like, I feel like there was a lot of, like, fighting going on at home. So it was like I didn't want to be at school because I felt unsafe, and I, like, didn't want to be at home because
there was fighting.
Yeah. So, like, it was, like, both ends of where I had to be most of my time.
That was the first time that I had ever really pushed back. Like, I pushed back on Dad. Like, he told me a long time ago I could get my master's, and then he changed his mind, and I did it anyway, and I kind of snuck it in the beginning, so I was probably doing a terrible job parenting. It was a lot to carry. Yeah,
I don't remember a whole lot from, like, home at that point. I do remember that was when I started watching Friends.
Yep, I do remember that.
And that was turned into a massive part of my life, which, like, sounds silly when I say, like, a TV show is, like, such a big deal to me, but, like, I would do like little things to like be able to buy, because at the time it was like on
Yeah,
iTunes.
on iTunes, yeah.
So you had to buy each episode in the SD version was $1.99 and HD was $2.99. So if I was feeling like I could do something extra, then I'd be like, all right, I'm gonna get the HD version for $3 instead. But I would
So crazy.
do stuff like that to get them, and eventually I ended up like being able to buy every episode. Like I own all of the episodes of Friends. And that was like really the only thing that like made me like laugh and smile, was like watching that show. It was like, okay, like I don't know why I'm getting emotional about that,
Yeah.
but yeah, so Friends was like, it will always be like my favorite show, always be like my safe show.
Yeah.
So then middle school continued, and middle school is middle school. It just wasn't great.
Well, we don't have to tell every...
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
And then I did this, and then I did this.
No,
yeah.
I know. But fast forward to the end of high school, I was just like, I think I was just really unhappy.
Yeah.
And...
Oh, we went through a divorce. Your parents went through a divorce.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And after you guys got divorced, or like really in the midst of that, I like when we lived in the house that we did after the one we lived in when we were growing up, I didn't feel safe. Like I did not want to come home. Like Dad scared me. He was angry all the time. He was drinking all the time. Like he would like come home early and drink, and I would come home, like my walk from the bus stop was quite long.
Very long.
It was we live in Florida, so it's so hot, and I'm carrying like this really heavy backpack, and he would be home, like just like, you know, in like his casual attire or whatever, and then he'd like walk into the garage and be like, oh, I didn't know like you were walking home, I would have picked you up. And I'm like, I texted you, like it was my routine to text when I was 5 minutes away, and then when I got there. And so I'm like, I texted you like 15 minutes ago, and then I walked 20 minutes to get home. So like that's bullshit. But then there was a point where I thought, there was one day where I really genuinely thought he was gonna physically hurt you. Like I was like, if we go home, like he's gonna hurt you, and I am afraid that like I won't be able to just stand there and watch, like, so he'll probably hurt me too. And I like begged you to go to your friend's house that was thankfully lived right down the street from us, and we stayed the night there. And
did I spend the night too?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you and I both spent the night.
I know that things had escalated. Like we went to counseling, and then it started, it wasn't like super physical, but there was a punch in the door at the other house.
Yep.
So things had gotten to the point where I felt like it was going to be physical.
Mm-hmm. Well, and he had also, and I don't know if like this is something I can really say. I mean, maybe you could cut it if you don't want me to, but like he had pushed Jackson up the stairs. Yeah. Like within that same time period.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And that was like the last straw for me.
Yeah. And that I feel like that was like, that was like right before that time where I was like, and I was like, so he's angry again, like, and he's really angry. He was like screaming down the street at you, and I don't even remember why we were outside, but I was like, I told you, I was like, we can't go home, like we have to go to your friend's house, to Miss Sergi's house, and I was like, please, like let's just go. And like at first you were like a little hesitant, but I was like,
because I thought it was going to make it worse.
No, and I know, and I was like, it can't get worse. Like, it can't get worse than this. Like, we can't let it get worse than this.
And I remember being all right with letting you guys go, but I didn't know if I should go.
I remember...
Didn't you go without me at first?
I don't think so.
Okay.
But maybe. I don't know. It's hard for me to...
Yeah, it's hard.
...fully remember those details, but... yeah, that period was really hard. And then at school... I had a teacher who was like, I had told, like, I'm like, my parents are getting divorced, and I'm like, I actually feel really good about it, like, I'm really happy, like, I'm relieved. And he was like, well, like, that's a sin. Like, he starts, like, basically preaching to me, and I really looked up to this teacher, like, I liked him a lot. And when he said that to me, I was like, I felt like, how dare you
Yeah.
judge me and my family? You don't even know
Yeah.
what is happening. And
which is so
also, like, who says that?
I don't know who says that. What I did go to a pastor.
Yeah.
Remember?
No, yeah. I know. I remember you.
Because I did feel like the same way.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I was doing something against God, and that I was breaking my vows, and I didn't know what to do. And also, I think I told you in the last week that I like thought that I did think he was a good dad, but not when he started behaving like that. Then I started to see. But also, I thought it was going to be difficult for you. Mm-hmm. You especially, because you were always the kid that would go back and forth between us. You were never like all about me or all about him. Like, even when you were like 18 months old, I remember this, we had to take you to the emergency room. It was very scary, and you were in a lot of pain, and you would cry and scream, and then you would want me, and then you would want him, and then you would want me. So there was never like Jackson was like all about me when he was born. Yeah. And later on, you and I became, Dad used to call us two peas in a pod. Later on, we were very connected and close, and but when in the early part of your life, it wasn't like that. You like adored him. Yeah. And so it was that was the part that I was afraid that it was going to be hard for you. Yeah. And I didn't know what to do with that. Mm-hmm. So but you're right. So he pushed Jackson, and that was a scary. I do remember like bits and pieces of that.
And then he like said he didn't. Like the second after he pushed him, I like witnessed it happen, and you like walked around the corner.
No, I was behind him. I thought I was behind him on the stairs. Yeah.
Okay. And then you were
and
like,
I was so upset. I'm like, stop. And I was like, stop right now.
And he was like, I didn't do anything. He fell. And I was like, he did not fall. Mm-mm. You just pushed him into the stairs. Like, and then I remember that like before you guys were officially like divorced, or that was like really like fully happening, you were on the phone with somebody in your bathroom, and I don't know like what I thought. I thought you had said like, I think I'm gonna try and make it work, or like, or I don't think I'm gonna get a divorce yet. And I like barged in. I was like begging and pleading, like, please.
That was a huge moment.
Yeah, I was like, please, you can't take this away. Like, it was like, you can't take the idea of safety away from me like this. Like, please keep going. Like, you can do it. Like, you have to do it. Yeah. And then you did, and that next year was hard. It was really hard because I was like basically a picture of you to Dad. So like everything I did, he was angry at me. Like I couldn't do anything that made him happy. It was like just me like existing was like he was irritated. And then like if I wanted to talk to you while it was like his time, then like he would try and like look at my phone or like look at my texts. Like I remember we used to have like a code word. Like if I knew he was coming in, that I would be like,
stars are out.
Yep, the stars are out. Do you think the stars are gonna be out tonight? Yeah. And like I used to like change your name in my phone so I could text you, like, and he wouldn't like go looking for it. Like it was like I felt like I was trapped. That's like sad. And I mean like that was even when like I got lice and he like didn't help me, and I like brushed my head so hard until it bled. And
I came over and treated the house.
Yeah, when he wasn't there. He was like gone, and so it was like at that point like I knew like I didn't want to live with him anymore. I just physically couldn't do it any longer. And so I spoke up and I said, like, I think I told you first. Mm-hmm. I was like, I need to live with you full time. And you had such a hard time. You were like, because it was like such a conflict in your brain. Yeah. It was like, and I remember when we were talking about it that you were like relating it heavily to like how you felt about your dad. Yeah. And I was like, it's not the same. Like, I felt like I wanted to, like, shake everyone around me and just be like, please let me not live here anymore. Yeah. Like, I'm scared.
I didn't want to take I didn't want to take away your dad from you. I didn't want to be like the reason why you felt like you didn't have a dad.
Yeah, and I never thought that. It was like, I never thought that was your fear for me. And I was like, that is not what you're doing. Like, you're giving me a safe place to live. Like, I can't keep doing this anymore. And then he hated me for that and blamed me for that and said it was my choice to leave him and all this stuff.
Which he was fine in the beginning, though. Like, he was...
Well, he acted fine when I first told him.
And then he held it against you.
Yeah, and then it was, like, something that I was, like, punished for.
And he would never have let you if we had gone back to court and I had asked for the support because I had full-time custody. So I didn't. That was part of the reason why I was like, I'm not even going to say anything. Mm-hmm. I'll figure this out myself because I don't want it to be about the money.
Yeah.
Because I knew it would be.
Yeah. Yeah. I was afraid of that too, but at the same time, I think I was 15.
Yeah.
And so
it just would have been so complicated.
It would have been very complicated for sure. I'm very grateful that you didn't do that. But in my head, I'm like, what's he going to do? Like, chain me to my bed? Like, I'm going to have a car next year. So, like, I'll just leave. Mm-hmm. And so that was really a difficult part. But then when I was 17, I think I was just so out of it. Like, I just, like, I don't know, like, just so disassociated from myself and, like, everything that was happening and, like, how I really felt about things and, like, the friends I had, and it was just, like, I wasn't happy. Mm-hmm. Like, I never, like, had gotten to a point of being like, okay, like, I'm content. Like, school got so much harder, and it was, like, so much pressure, and everybody wanted me to be, like, this perfect version in school, because I got straight A's forever. Yeah. That was, like, the norm for me. Yeah. So, and I remember, like, when I was in my junior year, I got a B in AP Bio. I fucking hated that class. It was, like, horrible. And I felt so bad, but then I was like a B is good.
Yeah, and where do you think, like, I didn't expect perfection.
I think, like, when I remember distinctly when I was a lot younger, there was a point, I think I was in second grade, and I, like, didn't complete, like, a spelling test or something like that. And Dad was, like, so mad that I had gotten, like, I think I got, like, a D. It was, like, the first time I ever got, like, a D. Mm-hmm. And he was like, how could you, like, do this? Like, you get A's. Like, I can't believe, like, you failed like this. Like, you need to apologize and, like, go back and fix it and, like, do extra work. And
really?
Yeah. And I was, like, in trouble for, like, getting a D.
I don't remember that at all.
Yeah, and I remember, like, being really, like, okay, well, I guess, like,
because he wasn't a good student himself.
Yeah, so and I was so confused.
I just don't remember there being that kind of pressure. I know that, like, the example I set of putting so much pressure on myself was not helpful for you. And expecting, like, perfection of myself. But I didn't expect that from you. Mm-hmm. But I guess...
I also don't know that, like, that was, like, ever completely voiced to me, because I had such high expectations of myself that was just like, okay, well, like, she just has that, so that's okay. And not that you were like...
But you started... This is when the eating...
Yeah.
Okay, so you started, like, to seem as if you were really thin. Mm-hmm. And I was worried about you.
Yeah. And at that point, though, like, it was, like, the only thing that I feel like I was in control of, which is, with anorexia, like, that's...
Which we will also talk about on a separate podcast, so we won't go in
depth about that. But, like, that's a lot of where that comes from, is, like, wanting to gain control. But I think it was, like, I feel like I could do nothing right. And, like, that was a core belief I had because of the things Dad would say to me. Like, it was like, if I helped, I was just an annoying helper that like did too much. I was in the way. But if I didn't, then I was like not doing enough, and like how could I, because I should be doing more than that.
There was a lot of expectations around Jackson with you.
Yeah.
But then it also seeming like, well, don't be bossy. And then, so it was like you couldn't get it right.
There was nothing I could do that was right. And so then like whenever.
So you managing your food was your way of controlling some of that. I know you said you didn't remember that I took you to a doctor. Do you remember having the conversation when you came home from dance?
Yeah, I remember you telling me.
I took you to the doctor, and she said that you were in a normal weight range. I still didn't believe her. I still felt like she's got to be wrong because like bones were sticking out. So I did not feel like that was all right. I don't know what to do at that point.
Yeah.
And then you had a realization. Like it wasn't very long after that when you came home and you're like, I see what you're talking about.
Yeah. But the thing is that like whenever like the way, I think you were so scared.
Yeah.
And so like the way that you approached it was not a way I could receive it.
Yeah.
Because you were like, I think like you're too thin, and I was like, for fuck's sake, like I am either overweight or I'm underweight, or like I'm like, what do you want from me? Like that's how I felt about the whole world. Because I'm like, when I felt like I was heavier, I should have been losing weight, or like it was, I mean, like the like wellness stuff in our family was big. Like I mean, Dad was on steroids all the time and like working out, and you both really took the gym seriously. So
no,
like,
you're right. We both were like a massive working it. Yeah.
So it was like, okay, well, like I'm too heavy, I'm too thin. I'm like, I can't get to the in between. Like I don't know what that looks like.
I don't remember ever telling you that I thought you were too heavy.
No, you didn't say I was too heavy, but I remember like coming to you and being like, you thinking you were too heavy, and I was like, well, if she thinks she's too heavy, like I'm nowhere close to how she looks. So like that's that in my mind. I'm like, well, then she must think that I'm just like massive. And then like my body dysmorphia from there was it like grew to a point where I didn't know. Like it was like I couldn't understand like the difference between the two.
That's so understandable. Like that's not a I'm so sorry for leading that kind of example and not like accepting myself or loving myself, because I never looked at you and thought, like I always looked at you and just thought you were just the most wonderful, beautiful person I had ever seen. So to me, it's like I did get scared when I thought that you had, because I thought it was gonna hurt you. Like I thought it was going to impact you or impact your health, or something was going on, and so I was scared. But I never thought that the way that I felt would have such an impact on you like that. I feel terrible.
I don't want you to feel terrible about that. And we've had this conversation before where I've told you, like, I forgive you for that. Like, I don't hold that against you. Like, there's not, like, resentment that I feel. Like, I don't blame you. Like, there's so much that goes into that. And also, like, I lived in a world where social media was first. That was when, like, I had Instagram when it was the brown camera.
Yeah, and, you know, I listened to this podcast, and he says it's going to be the worst thing. We're going to realize one day it was the worst thing we could have ever done to our kids.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's a part of the reason why there's things that I say to Jake where I'm like, I don't want our kids to have social media until they're older. Yeah. Like, so much older that, like, it's like we have no choice but to be like, wow, now we can't really control whether they have it or not. Like, I'm like, until they can just do it on their own.
Like,
won't
let them have it until they go to college, till they're a freshman in college.
I like, there's a part of me that I'm like, yeah, like, I love that. I mean, there's another part where I'm like, I think there are a lot of benefits. I think it's like that with anything, where it's like,
because you don't want people to feel excluded and all the things that go along with that. But
but at the same time,
everybody's not on the same page. But they're talking about age gating it, and well, that can be a whole nother. We can have that as a whole nother separate conversation. All right, so
so the reason that I, like, honestly, like, it didn't get worse Well, I remember looking in the mirror one day at dance, and I like had our uniform was like black leggings and a black shirt, and I just like was like, oh, like I actually saw what I looked like. Like the body dysmorphia like disappeared for just a moment, and I was scared, and the other thing too was that like it wasn't just you that had said like I'm worried. It was like my teachers started saying like you're too thin or like this and that, and it wasn't in a nice way.
It's like a criticism.
Yeah, and I'm like,
yeah, I'm sorry
I don't know what you want me to do about that.
Yeah.
But then I left when I left high school, and I went to camp as a counselor. It was like the first time that I'd ever like had no pressure around eating. Like in high school, which, like, this is so crazy to me to think about. I had, like, 15 minutes for
crazy.
lunch.
Yeah.
Like, they technically said we had 30, but it's, like, if you were buying lunch, the line was, like, at least 10, 15 minutes long. And then you'd have to find somewhere to sit. And then if you had to go to the bathroom, you weren't allowed to go when you got back to class, because why didn't you do that during your lunch break? So it was, like, by then I had, like, 10, 15 minutes to eat. And then
so
I'm,
you
like...
had a pressure-free lunch at camp. And also... like just surrounded by love and acceptance.
Yeah, and it was like nobody was looking at you for eating this or eating that. Like, and it was regimented. Like there was, you ate breakfast at this time, you ate lunch at this time, you ate dinner at this time. And I was around kids. Like I was in charge of kids. Yeah. So like I'm not gonna not eat in front of this group of kids I'm in charge of. Yeah. So that honestly like saved me from going even deeper into that eating disorder that I was in. And then after that, like, I realized I wanted to, like, get counseling, like, from someone, and talk a little more about that, because I had a friend who was in a more severe state than I had been. Yeah. And I thought I was going to lose her. Yeah. And then that was really when I was like, I had this. Or, like, I'm kind of in recovery from this, but I didn't really get... Yeah. You know what I mean? So, that was, like, kind of the overview of that part. But then, like, as I, like, became an adult, I started looking into more mental health resources for myself. And, like, you helped me with that. And realizing that I needed medication. Yeah. And I feel like I've had, like, every medication under the sun.
You have had a lot. So have I.
Yeah.
But,
that was... hard, and finding the right person is so hard. I mean, I've had a counselor ghost me. I've had a counselor tell me my eating disorder wasn't real and that I was making it up. So like throughout that it was just like up and down, and then thankfully I found the counselor that I most recently had and the psychiatrist. The psychiatrist I used to be with was, like, fine for that time period, but then I found the psychiatrist I currently have. And it was, like, all in, like, divine timing, because 2021 was, like, the worst mental health year ever. Like, I really didn't think that I would make it to, like, right now. Yeah. Like, it was, like, so painful that I was, like, I just remember telling Jake, like, it hurts. Like, it hurts. Like, I can't, like, I don't know what to do. Yeah. And he was like, what hurts? Like, I mean, like, anyone wanted to do anything. Yeah. And I'm like, I don't know. Like, everything hurts. Like, I can't, if this is how life is gonna be, like, I can't do it. Yeah. Like, I just can't. And I, like, was close to, like, making that choice. But I had people, like, in my community, like, it was, like, I really, truly was set up, like, by God to get through that, like, how I was supposed to. The people at, like, our church were, like, well-versed in that, and, they were the people, the pastor's wife currently was the one I called on the night that I really, like, couldn't handle it. I had that counselor that I was working with who, like, I also was able to reach out to. Like, there was a plan in place. Like everything worked out how it was supposed to, but, like, it was it was so rough. And then, like, getting out of that, it was just really hard. But I am, like, really glad, like, that I had all of that. Like, I feel, like, really, like, blessed to have, like, been able to lean into, like, the things I was given. Yeah. Even when I felt like there was such a lack of things that I didn't have. Yeah. And, and then from there, like, I did a lot of work. Yeah. On myself. I did TMS therapy, which is, I think it's transmagnetic stimulation. I believe that's what that stands for. And that didn't really work for me. It was technically a failed treatment. And then I continued to try different medications, and a bunch of them failed. And then
you found out that you had, like, a fast metabolism of that kind of medication, right? Your liver.
I had, like, a bunch of different random things, and, like, the psychiatrist I was with also wasn't trying medication for long enough, and that's when I left her, and because she was like, I don't know what to do with you. She, like, literally said that.
Which is just unbelievable. Yeah. So,
reckless.
Yes.
Very reckless. And then I found the psychiatrist I have now, who tried me on a medication I had tried before, and she was like, we're going to try this for longer. Yeah. And we're going to, like, see it through, and I'm still going to, like, work with you, and, like, I'm still on it.
Yeah, wow. I don't think I realized that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. Yeah. And we tried, like, different things to help with sleep, too, but, like, then we found that, and I've been on that for probably a year now, and I'm on less, so that way, like, I don't have to take as much, and, and then after, like, doing a lot of counseling and stuff, I feel like I really grew, but then I did coaching with Teresa, who's, like, one of my very best friends, and that was, like, I remember talking to you about that, and I felt like I was just, like, new. Yeah. I was like, all right, like, I'm ready for the next thing. Like, I'm like...
she's good. I feel that way.
She's definitely, like, just... Yeah, it was a God thing when I met her. Yeah. That's a whole other story. We'll have to tell that with her on the podcast because that's a cool story. Yeah. And then I was still, like, in my business doing, like, social media / virtual assistant work, but I didn't, like, it was like I always knew that's not what I was always gonna do. Yeah. Like, I feel like I'm talented in those things. Yeah, for sure. I am very strong with organizational work, and I, like, have a very good understanding of marketing, like, especially over time. Like, I've learned a lot, but it's not like what I meant to do. Like, I'm meant to, like, help people, and, like, I always knew that. And not that I'm saying that doesn't help people, but, like, I meant, like, help people in, like, an emotional way and connect with people like that. And then I kind of, like, decided, like, that's really what I want to do, but I was scared because I was like, well, am I ready for that? Like, am I capable of doing that? Like, look at me, like, I'm not perfect. Like, but then I remember talking to Teresa about it, and she's like, you don't, like, I'm not perfect. She was like, nobody needs to be perfect to be able to do that. You just need to be at least one step ahead of where they are. Yeah. And I was like, all right, I can do that. I am one step ahead. And then I somehow found this retreat that was, like, a life-changing experience to go on. And it, like, basically came out of nowhere. Yeah. Like, I didn't know anyone. I didn't know the facilitators. Pretty much everyone that was there other than me knew the facilitator somehow.
And this was in Bali.
Yeah, this was in Bali.
So you were going to travel around the world.
And I'd never left the United States. Yeah. Like, never travel outside of the United States.
Alone.
Yeah, by myself. And
I remember feeling so proud of you and thinking, this is very exciting. Like, it was such a good feeling to know that you were just going to take this adventure and just do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, even when I first found it, like, I had applied for a scholarship. And that's how I saw it. I think it was like an ad or something. And Teresa had sent it to me. Like, she saw it as just an opportunity, like, oh, here's an example of whatever. And I didn't think anything of it after I applied. But they, like, had reached out to me, I think it was like a month or two later. So I was like, I don't even remember who these people are.
Yeah.
Initially, I didn't even respond because I was like, oh, spam. Like, whatever. And then they reached out again, and I was like, oh, like, I think this is an actual person, like, trying to talk to me. And then I got on the call with one of the facilitators, Jaden, and I felt like I was like, I have to do this. Like, I don't know why I feel like I need to, but it's just like a yes for me. And I told her that, and she was like, we definitely want you there. And, like, I met really good friends. I, like, feel like I'll love these women forever. Like, I'll know them in some capacity forever. And, like, we, like, bonded in a way that was, like, just undescribable. Like, it's, unless you've been on a retreat, really, it's so hard to describe. Yeah. Because it's, like, such a
shared experience.
Yeah. And you're all there for the same reason, but you're all so different.
Yeah.
So
you come out of it on the other side in this, like, profound way that does feel like it's life-changing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I really, when I was there, I was like, I'm going to use this when I get home. Like, this is not just a retreat for me. Like, this is... It sounds like a battery is about to die.
Yeah.
This is my life. Yeah. Like, I'm going to take these things and it's going to be my life. So, yeah. And now, like, I really did... Like, when I came back, like, I told them when I was there that I wanted to do mindset coaching and mental health coaching and stuff. And they were like, you're going to do it. You're going to start it. And I was like, yep, I'm going to do it. And I came back and I was like, I'm going to do it. Like, I am doing it.
Yeah.
And I did. And now, like, I have, like, 4 clients at the moment.
And you're so good at it.
Thank you.
So good at it.
Thank you. Yeah, so it was like all of these things that obviously I don't wish them to happen again.
No, yeah.
But they had, like, prepared me so much from so many different perspectives to be able to support women and, like, some men, like, that I know, like, in ways that I wouldn't have been able to before. So, like, it's another example of, like, tragedy, like, being used in a way of, like, healing and, like, beauty and, like, kindness. And I've also really learned to, like, be able to love myself and, like, what that looks like and how it's different. And, like, I'm on a gut health journey, and that's been very interesting and, like, awesome. I've loved doing it, and my coach is incredible. I think if it was anybody else, it would probably be a lot harder. But, like, I met her in Bali. Yeah. So, yeah, like, and that's been something that's been just a huge shift for me. And, like, I never would have thought I would have done something like that as a person who did experience an eating disorder and is, I mean, like, really, you're in recovery just forever. But, like, like, there was a point where I was triggered in the beginning, and I talked to her about it, and it was fine. Like, everything, like, it's been good, and I feel really good. And, like, that's the part that was, like, I was having all these, like, I felt like I was having hot flashes, like, during the day. Like,
well, it sounded like you were. It all sounded so hormonal.
Yeah.
And
migraines.
Migraines all the time.
I was always tired. Yeah. Like, it was just, like...
It was debilitating.
Yeah. I'm like... Man, like, okay, well, I'm not really, like, fully depressed, but, like, I got all these other things. It's kind of like poisoning
yourself. Though.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely. And there's, like...
So, and we're going to talk about that on a separate episode, too, because I have questions about, like, how...
Yeah. I asked Katie if she'd be on the podcast, and she said yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Because, like, there's questions that I have about, like, how you discuss things and how you... Can you ask this? Can you, stuff like that I'm not going to say right now because I want to save for that episode. But, yeah, so I think we should go into that.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's the gist. Now I feel like I have a toolbox. Like, because I don't ever want to be like, I'm healed. Like, that's just not how it works.
But having a toolbox makes all the difference because I have a friend and she's like, well, how did you know that strategy? And it was just a few simple strategies. Like one of them was, journaling.
Yeah.
Another was like taking deep breaths. And another one, I can't remember what the other one was. Making a vision board, whatever it was. And I was like, I don't know how I go, well, because I've been to counseling for so long.
Yeah.
And now I have 2 mindset coaches. And I'm like, so, and I read a lot about this and, listen to podcasts and watch whatever. And I'm like, these are things, these are tools, because even in counseling, like I graduated from counseling, like she released me as like someone who was finished with counseling, and I'm like, oh no, I'm not ready to finish counseling. And I had to call her sometimes afterwards, and I think that's understandable. But sometimes you forget the tools you have, and you just need a reminder of the tools that you have. But those tools are really important to learn,
for sure,
and they make it all the difference.
Well, and also like the thing with learning like healthy coping mechanisms, and like learning the tools to support yourself when things are triggering or upsetting, or understanding your triggers and whatnot. Like, it's like things that you stack. Like, you don't just like have one and you're like good to go. Like sometimes, like if I'm having a panic attack, which is very rare now for me, but used to be extremely common, it's like I'm not just gonna like use my like 5 senses coping mechanism and then I'm not going to be in a panic attack. I'll be at the level to where I can now do a breathing exercise, and then that will take me to a level where I could maybe like stop freaking out and like talk it through with someone. And that, you know what I mean? Like, it's like you have to find a bunch of those tools so that way you can start from the foundation.
And sometimes one doesn't work in that particular situation, so you have to try another one. Which is completely understandable. So, well, thank you for sharing your story. And thank you for tuning in. And joining us.
Thank you for listening.
So we are going to be focusing on more mental health and mindset and mom and daughter stuff. And things like that. We hope that you will mind your heart on Mondays with us.
And keep listening.